Now we're going to take a look at example 1 and 2, which will help you for your homework tonight. We're given a figure on the right with some points on it, some lines, some rays, and a plane. The quadrilateral that is slanted, which looks like a parallelogram, is what's representative of the plane. So on example 1a, they want us to name 3 points that are collinear. Keep in mind that there might be more than one answer. So for example, L, M, and N fall on the same plane, but so does K, M, or P. So either one of those would have been perfectly appropriate for example 1a. So example 1b, name 4 points that are not coplanar. So I'm going to point out one common mistake that people might name. For example, let's say they thought L, M, N, and K are not on the same plane. Remember, if you can slide a sheet of paper and cover all 4 points, then that means that, so all four, if you take a sheet of paper and picture, can I or can I not put K, L, M, and N on that same piece of paper? And if the answer is yes, then they are coplanar. They're on the same plane. So that is not an option because one piece of paper can encompass a line and a point. So what we need to do is think of 3 points that are not in a line. So for example, R, L, and N, and the point that is not on that plane. So 3 points that are coplanar, and then pick a point that's not on that plane, like K. So for this one, we would say R, L, N, and K are not coplanar. Had you used R, L, N, and P, that would have also been correct. So naming 4 points that are not coplanar is possible by naming 3 points that are on a plane, and then a point that is separate from that plane or outside of that plane. Okay, so name 3 points that are not collinear. So for this one, if I'm naming 3 points that are not collinear, I would list 2 points, let's say L and R, and then 1 point that is not on that line. So for example, M or N. Okay, so for example 2, now they're asking us to draw things. So as opposed to using the figure on the right, draw 3 points on your own that are collinear and name it A, B, and C. So put 3 points in a row, name it A, B, C, draw a line that goes through it. Okay, for part B, it's in reference to part A. Draw point D not collinear with A, B, C. So let's say we put D here. That's collinear, so that would be incorrect. So we want to make it not collinear, so outside of that line. Okay, so point D. Now draw, if you look at this symbol above that, that's a line above that. So they want us to draw a line AB. So I'm going to go ahead and draw 2 points and connect it, make sure that I make a line out of that instead of a segment. As opposed to the next one where you see there's a little ray, it's kind of hard to see, but there's an arrow tip at the right end of that. So that means when I'm drawing this one, I'm going to have a ray is important in that in the notation in that the first letter that appears must be the common endpoint, or sorry, not the common endpoint, but just the endpoint. And then the ray can point in either direction. So this is ray BD, or if I have the ray pointing in the opposite direction, just making sure that the endpoint is B, pointing in the opposite direction towards D, so BD. So either one of those is correct for example 2D. For example 2E, they want us to draw a segment because of that notation right there. So for segments, we're going to draw 2 endpoints. There's no infinite ends in between, and then label it CD. For opposite rays, they want us to name opposite rays. So in fact, I'm going to use, and let's make that clear, in purple, I'm going to use this example for that picture, for that example F. And I'm going to say, if I'm naming opposite rays, I want to make sure I name my common endpoint first. So ray BA and ray common endpoint B, C. So ray BC are opposite rays, so that's that solution. And example 3, I realize is the same thing as example 2F, so we'll go ahead and stop here. and have you do some independent practice.